Mm-hmm. All right. We are live. Welcome to the Sunday live stream for June 20th, 2021. I'm going to give people a few minutes to trickle in. I've got something I hope will be interesting today, but time will tell, I suppose. So on the agenda for today, we are going to be talking about what's in my computer bag. We're going to take a brief look at OpenOffice 7.2 Beta 1. We will be looking at the release notes for Linux Mint 20.2 Beta. This is a Cinnamon edition. And we'll go over some topics and ideas I've got for some future videos. Some that I've started outlining, some that I've started doing some recording on, some that I'm coming down the home stretch of editing, hopefully. But that is the agenda for today's show. And we've got somebody out there. Good morning, David. Hopefully your kids have all called you and wished you a happy Father's Day as well. So, all right. So, let me go back to my notes for a moment. All right. So, I have had a few people ask, because I still do consulting work outside of my work at the library. People have asked what I carry in my computer bag and what I carry in my tool bag. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to, I guess, do an unbagging of sorts and show some of that stuff here on the channel. And see if people have ideas or suggestions on different things I maybe should be carrying that I'm not. But I've refined what's in the computer bag and to some extent what's in the tool bag over the years. And this right now is what seems to be working pretty well for me. So, yeah, I guess I'll start pulling things out. So my computer bag is over here on my left. So the first thing I've got is just a random straight through headphone jack type cable, which could be used with an extender. Probably something I had in my car that I threw in the bag. Not necessarily the most useful thing in the bag. Next thing I've got, I have a couple of Ethernet couplers. And these have saved my bacon on a few occasions, where you get someplace and you've got access to Ethernet cables, pre-built Ethernet cables, but not a box of unused cable and ends. And you have to improvise and make sure that you've got a cable of the correct length to get from point A to point B. And these couplers do the trick for extending that. I've also got in here an alpha Wi-Fi adapter. This is 802.11 AC, I believe, so Wi-Fi 5. And the reason I keep going with alpha adapters is that they are able to be plugged in and used without installing drivers on Windows and Linux. Now, once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away, you used to be able to use these on Mac OS as well. Due to changes Apple has been making, this is no longer the case. I think the support for these was dropped about 2 or 3 Mac OS versions ago. I have not sought out the third-party drivers to see if I could get it to work. There is some information that leads me to believe that it might work, but you do have to do some fiddling with security settings and rebooting the computer a couple times, and it's not for the typical Mac user. I will say that right up front. Yes, I do still use Macs for some things. I am very much a power user, regardless of what platform I go to. I cannot work on a platform that does not have multiple desktop support. That's one reason I stayed away from Windows for a long time. Thankfully, with Windows 10, it's built in and ready to go. But so I've also got various ink pens, and I don't think there's a reason to show that. I've got one of these handy dandy. This is a Belkin screwdriver. It's got a Phillips. I don't know if that's really obvious. Phillips on one end and a flat screwdriver on the other. This has one of those nice little clips where you can clip it in a pocket. I think every geek type person has had one of these over the years. Okay, so we'll move to the next pocket in the bag. And David, you are more than welcome to steal this idea for a live stream if you'd like. I am not the first to do this. And so I was in one of those spots where I was trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do today. And this popped in my mind, and so this is what we're doing. I've got a battery bank. This one is a pineapple juice battery bank. I've bought a couple iterations of the Wi-Fi pineapple to mess with playing with Wi-Fi security testing, and this came with one of those models that I bought. I've also got a few what are these called? Rack studs. These are the plastic versions, and I've got more of these holding in my stuff in my rack because I don't have anything terribly heavy. So this part goes into the regular rack hole. You've got a yellow sort of washer type thing that goes in there, and then you screw the cap on. It is, and probably won't focus on there too well, it is set up to use a Phillips screwdriver bit to tighten it down. You really don't need a power tool to do that, but you could. I just wouldn't reef down on it terribly hard. And that was all for pocket number 2. Pocket number 3. Pull some of this stuff out. The pocket number 3. Since I am a MacBook user, I've got some adapters. So this first one is a Thunderbolt or mini display port, which is the same connector for Thunderbolt 1 and 2 to VGA. And that has come in handy on some occasions. I've got an old Rocketfish USB to Ethernet adapter, which I threw it in the bag because I figured it might come in handy somewhere. And then I've got an Amazon Basics branded USB 3 to gigabit Ethernet adapter. I actually had 2 of these, and I was out of job one day, actually doing some volunteer work at the community center I help support. And the guy was, the owner was having issues doing his live streams, and he was trying to do them over Wi-Fi. So we built him a custom cable, Ethernet cable, and I sold him one of the USB 3 to Ethernet adapters. So the next outside pocket, I've actually got a couple paper notebooks. Nothing special there. And I've got a USB 3 hub. This is just a cheapie off from Amazon. It does have one USB-C connector on it. So that has been handy for a couple of things. Not my primary one, but I was in a situation where I loaned out my primary USB hub that I normally keep in the bag, and then I needed one for another job. So I've also got in the bag a mask, Hack the Planet. If anybody's seen the 1995 movie Hackers, yeah, that's where the scene on the mask came from. So now we can move to the inside of the bag. And there's bunches and bunches of stuff in here. Okay, so the biggest part first, 13-inch MacBook Pro. Has been one of the most reliable laptops I've ever had, hands down. Got some trash, which I'll throw away. Some loose paperwork, which is no longer needed. I could toss that as well. Okay. Power adapter for the MacBook Pro. Because, you know, sometimes the jobs take longer than the battery lasts. Okay. Next thing. This is the USB 3 hub I've had forever and a day. This is a pluggable brand. And this is much higher quality than the cheapy one I showed you just a moment ago. And then I've got I use this cable for one of my last jobs I went out on. This is actually the charging cable off from a PlayStation 2 controller. But I had to use this for doing the updates on a piece of specialized equipment that is marketed towards the visually impaired folks that this Merlin Pro I talked about on a previous live stream, and it basically blows things up, and it's got a built-in screen reader. So if you put something on the camera and display it on the screen, it will also read it out loud to you. Let's see. I did a review on one of those USB 3.0 to gigabit RJ45 adapters. Very nice. Okay, so next thing I've got is a bag, a little pouch that has various USB sticks in it, and a couple of, well, one adapter. So I do carry with me, just for those situations where I need it. This is an HDMI to VGA adapter. This is just a cheapy brand that I got off Amazon, and I actually bought these initially for use with some Raspberry Pi projects, and then the Raspberry Pi people decided, oh, let's switch to mini HDMI. So I still got a couple of these around. One of the prized possessions in this bag, though, and I guess it's not that special anymore, but is this SanDisk adapter. So this has USB Type A on one end, and it's got a little slider, and Type C on the other end. This can be very handy if you are taking pictures off your cell phone, provided you're running Android and not an iPhone. It can also be handy for some newer laptops that only come with USB Type C. Okay, I got another little pouch. Inside this one, if you guessed, more USB, you would be right. This one also has an external 2.5-inch hard drive in it that I do use for some projects. And that has been a lifesaver in some instances just because of the capacity. It's not going to win any speed records, but the capacity is helpful. I don't need to show my allergy pills that I keep in there. I do also keep, and I thought I had this wound up, but I don't, a generic, this is a pre-built Ethernet cable. So that has been useful to have in some situations. Not every place you go has the best Wi-Fi, and there are some instances where you can't actually plug into the wall and connect. Okay, so that gets the main pouch. I've also got the tripod for my Samsung Q2U microphone, because since that is USB capable, I have taken it with me and done some things on site with it. And what else is in this bag? I have a little this was a promotional item. This is spritz for like a laptop screen with a little wiper side so you can clean off your laptop screen. I've also got a device called a NetTool, and this was from their initial release of NetTool. This is a handy device, and I probably don't have battery. I probably haven't charged it in a while. So what this does is it lets you, it's got Ethernet on one end, it's got Bluetooth built in, and so you can connect to it with your cell phone. You plug into a network jack, and it will tell you what. It'll tell you stuff about your network, which is very handy for troubleshooting. Even on a lot of switches, it will tell you even the switch port number that you're operating on. So that is, it has been very helpful on some things. I've used it at the library. I've used it at my previous job when I was teaching. There are a lot of software tools out there to do that kind of thing. However, this device, it's nice. You don't have to fire up a laptop for it. You can do it all over your phone. It also has PCAP capability, so you can capture traffic on the network for analysis. So that has been a handy device to have. They have since released further iterations of that. Let's see. Let me share my screen. So, share screen. So they've got the NetTool Pro out now, which they've changed the color. They put a more rubberized finish on the casing for it. The one I've got is the NetTool standard. So yeah, connects to iOS or Android devices, and it will tell you this list of information. At one point, I had a review on their site. I wonder if that's still there. Let's see. So far that's not moving. So, yeah. So the version I've got is $179. And if you want just a basic device to do that, that's great. And so the latest build of their software is version 75, which I think I need to update mine. Let's see what this adds. Looks like nothing was found at this location. Okay, so right. So that's all right. Anyways, the NetTool Pro. Now this does more things. Network automation using SSH. Auto configure untagged ports. Auto configure tagged VLAN ports. PCAP capture and review. This is something on my wish list currently. If you are interested in a review of this, Willie Howe has done reviews of the NetTool Pro. Tony, good morning. Welcome. Yeah, I've got the original NetTool, and I actually bought mine before the famous Willie Howe did his reviews and had his wall of NetTools. It was kind of the wild west when I got mine. It was I don't know if they were just off Kickstarter or maybe it was a CES release, but so yeah. NetTool Pro is expensive, yes. So it's $300. But you do get a lot more capabilities than with the standard version. John asks, can you give examples of stuff you can do with it? Well, if you are in a building where there is no network map and you need to trace things out, this can be very helpful. It can save you a lot of legwork going back and forth. My previous job, I was teaching IT classes, and the management company that was supposed to do a lot of this stuff never turned over a network map to the on-site administrator. And so I was working with him, and we went through, and at least in my classroom, we mapped the network ports. We found a few of them that were not hooked up to a switch in the process, and we're able to resolve some of these issues. So anything from connectivity testing, your DHCP testing, network mapping, of course, with ARP scans, your switch ports and VLAN detections. I should maybe I'll do my own little quick review on the NetTool at some point once I've recharged the battery and updated it to the latest firmware. Willie Howe has done a great job of covering it, so it's one of those things that I don't want to make the same video Willie made, but at the same time, the pro version is getting a little more love these days than the original version, so I may go back and cover that on my channel. So it's got network automation capabilities. It's got an if-then mode, so you can get into a little logic programming with that. And recognizes tagged VLANs on a lot of commonly supported network equipment: Cisco, Dell, Ubiquiti Edge OS, Netgear ProSafe, HP Aruba, Juniper, Brocade, and Ruckus is in development, and MikroTik, or MikroTik, depending on how you want to pronounce that. I've heard it both ways from different people. So it's just a very handy device to have. If you're not doing this professionally, I don't know if I can really or doing a lot of network work, I don't know if I can really justify the price tag on the pro version. But even for home stuff, home lab stuff, helping out, friends, neighbors, what have you, the standard version of the Net Tool, I've been very happy with, and I don't regret buying it at all. Now, I think I got it a little bit cheaper. I think I got an introductory price that put it under $150. I would have to go back and find the receipt to be able to say that without a doubt. But it is a worthy addition to your tool bag, or laptop bag is where I carry mine. All right. Let's see. So, John, I hope that answers your question to some extent. Good morning, Ryan. Welcome. Okay, so I'm going to take take the screen back off. All right, in the middle side pouch, I also carry a Amazon Kindle device, which your mileage may vary on how useful that is for technical documentation. I've got yet another external hard drive. And there is a reason that I have multiple external hard drives. A lot of that comes down to supporting multiple platforms, and so I've got the different hard drives partitioned and formatted with different file systems. So that is why I've got that in there. Okay. Well, that gets my computer bag out of the way. I'll drop that off the desk to the floor. And maybe we'll do the tool bag next. Before we do that, are there any questions, any comments, anybody working on any interesting projects this week or this weekend? Those of you that have kids, happy Father's Day. I appreciate you being here. All of you, and yeah, so anybody want to chime in? Did I miss the DVM? Okay, help me out. I'm having an acronym blanking moment. What's DVM? I'm not connecting on the acronyms this morning. Digital voltmeter. Nope, you didn't miss it. I don't carry one. I don't find myself using one in the field. In fact, I'm not sure I've got one handy here at my apartment. I think it's still at my dad's house for a project he was working on. Let's see. I think my wife and kids are doing something for me today. Well, that's nice of them. I want to do a dry run for tonight's stream. I hate tech glitches. Yep, I'm right with you. One of the reasons that I'm contemplating keeping StreamYard is because it's generally glitch free. So until my ISP ups my upload speed a little bit more, I'm not sure I can realistically do live streaming from OBS. So today is the 1-year anniversary of me hitting 1,000 subs. Congratulations. That is great. And Monday is 1 year for monetization. All right. Tony throws out any recommendations for an LTE router? Not looking to use in production, just for use in the lab. That is a good question, Tony, and one that I would be interested in hearing the answers on myself. I am very... So my father lives in a location where he's just outside the limit for where cable is run to by like half a mile. The cable company, when we called them to see about having it run to his home, was going to charge $10,000 to trench and run the cable. So currently he is using cellular data, and he has a Verizon MiFi with 2 SIM cards, which they sold him a second SIM card after he started running out of data after COVID started. He also has an iPad with a hotspot that he's been using for data because the MiFi has not been working too well lately. And so I'm very interested to find out if there's an affordable LTE router where I could plug his SIM card into one of his SIM cards and make that work. Now, if it had spots for 2 SIM cards, I would just do away with the MiFi altogether. But I am trying to keep him operating, which has been a bit of a challenge. He actually called me when I was at work one day earlier this week and was saying that he couldn't get his email. And so I tried to hit his computer with my remote access software, and he wasn't even connected to the internet. So, you know, it's one of those situations where, you know, it's hard seeing a parent get older and not think things through in the logical fashion that they used to, I guess, is the best way I can put it. So anyways, yeah, John, the distance was approximately half a mile, and there were 3 other potential customers between my father and where the end of the current cable run is. So, okay. Another question from John. What remote access software do you use? I'm trying to get my sister on Linux, but would like something akin to Windows Remote Assist, but for Linux. So I am currently using Splashtop, Splashtop Business, and they do have a client for Linux machines. In fact, take that off. If I share my screen, let's see. So I'm connected to the Windows box right now. Let's disconnect from that real quick. So I can connect to one of my Linux machines here. Give me just a moment. So that did not open on the screen I wanted it to open on. So this is one of my Linux machines that I've got running. As you can see by the notifications, I've been playing with SyncThing. But yes, the Splashtop does run on Linux. Now, I think it is only for Debian-based distributions, but don't quote me on that. Yeah. But I do use that for my own Linux machines locally. I've also used it when I had, since I still do consulting work, I've loaned out a Linux machine from time to time for other people to use. And I make sure that I have the remote access software on there so that I can walk them through issues that they might encounter when using Linux if they're not a regular Linux user. So yeah. Let's see. David, that's my biggest fear as I age, keeping all the marbles rolling around. Pardon the expression. Yeah. So yeah, I feel the pain. So John, you and Tony bring up good suggestions. I have thought about directed Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, the closest relative to where my father lives is a mile away. And let's just say my brother-in-law is not the most pleasant person to deal with when it comes to such things. So that's kind of a no-go at the moment. Yeah, Tony, I've absolutely considered the Ubiquity point-to-point setup. Again, if it weren't for my brother-in-law, I probably would have purchased the hardware and just done it already. But yeah, at the moment it's kind of a non-starter, and so I'm just trying to think outside the box a little bit because he doesn't want to put down the money for Starlink at this point in time, or be locked into the $90 a month or $99 a month, whatever it is, service fee for Starlink. So yeah, it's not the best situation. Now, when the time comes, and likely it will in the next 2 to 5 years, where, since I'm in a position where I have no kids and no wife, I will likely end up moving back to my father's house and taking care of him as he gets older. That would be the point at which I would mandate splitting the cost of Starlink and putting that in. Because I can't live off from LTE data alone. So all right. For John, check out Zoho Assist as well. It does support Linux. I use Zoho for all my remote support sessions. Interesting. Now, Tony, does that do you have to have an agent installed on each machine, or does it have sort of like the team viewer type situation where you can have them give you the numbers and it just installs a light widget to make the connection type of thing? Because I've been considering updating to what is it? I've been considering upgrading my plan with Splashtop to their what is the what is the name of their product? Let's see, that's not the one. So I'm grandfathered into an older plan. So I'm paying $60 a year for what I've currently got. The downside is that I've got to have the software installed on the remote machine. So let's see. Client receives an email invitation, clicks the link to download and install a small utility, and you're up and running. Oh, nice. I use the free version, works great. And does that support Windows, Linux, and Mac OS? Because that was my selling point at the time I moved to Splashtop. I'm not sure if Zoho Assist was out at that time. I've been with Splashtop for 5-6 years now. Zoho Assist. Huh, go figure. Better than Zoho Assist. Splashtop.com. Big surprise. Zoho Assist. Yeah, that looks like I'll have to trial this. I have to trial this because the next level for Splashtop jumps me by another $200 a year, and I've been on the fence for 6 months now on whether to do that. But yeah, I'll have to try that. Oh, good. Okay, at the risk of taking us down one more tangent, Tony, do you have one of the new M1 Macs yet? There's a reason I'm asking. So, okay. Let me look at my agenda here. Let's see what we're doing time-wise. Okay, I think we're doing all right. So I'll try to be a little quicker about the smaller bag. So I've got just this little Husky tool bag. And mostly it's got network stuff and my iFixit toolkit in it. So I've got the, I guess, medium size iFixit toolkit. It's got some nice spudgers and different, there we go, prying tools. And then the best part of it is the screwdriver and all the crazy bits that you need for getting into Mac systems, getting into Happy Meal toys, whatever has a funky connector on it. This can basically get you in. Now they do have, I believe, a larger size toolkit that has more stuff. So I've got 2 left. I need to order some more of these. Platinum Tools, Easy RJ45 Cat 5 5E connectors. I've also got Platinum Tools Cat 6 connectors. These are the pass-through connectors because I don't crimp that many cables, and if I can save myself some frustration, I like to save myself frustration. I've got a Ethernet cable stripper, handy little thing to have. I have my probably newest edition. This is a VCE link punch down, and this does Cat 5, 6, and 7 punch down for the pass-through connectors. I have my original crimper for the Easy RJ45. This is the Platinum Tools branded one. I have a utility knife, Stanley Tools, Has a nice rubber grip on it. This little guy, if you are punching down, I'm drawing a blank now. If you're punching down wall jacks, this is a great way to save save your hands. So I've got a punch down tool. This is Klein Tools, I believe. Yep, it's a Klein version. So this supports 3 different types of keystone. Thank you, David. All I could think of was capstone. I knew that was wrong. Keystone. So this saves your hands when you're doing punch down for keystone jacks. And it's got different ways you can lock them into place. 3 different positions marked A, B, and C. And this, I believe, was a tool that I got on Amazon for less than $5. It might be closer to 10 now. I've had that for a few years. I've got a random, Samsung branded phone charger in here. Sometimes that comes in handy. I've got another screwdriver set. This was one of those Mac specific ones that has the Torx drivers in it. I have upgraded a few Macs. I've got a pair of electrician snips. I've got a Harbor Freight special telescoping magnet on a wand, little doodad. I've got a little flashlight. I've got a little bag of screws. I didn't want to lose those. And I think I've got a third set of screwdrivers. This was something I purchased, and I may pass these on to somebody else, but I got this when I was preparing to do work on an Xbox, an original Xbox. And I think those were the ones that I got that worked. But that was a one and done type of deal working on the Xbox. And I don't think I've used those since. So let me get this stuff packaged back into the tool bag. And we can go along with the rest of the agenda and answer any questions that people might have or try to, and talk about some other interesting things. Let's see. Okay. David says, I have the same iFixit kit. Got it last year for Father's Day. Very nice. I always have a large set of screwdrivers when working on my desktop PC. High-end Sears kit. And I added a 3/16 nut driver. Okay. On the Mac question I posed to Tony, I do not for 2 reasons. One, I bought a 27-inch iMac in 2020. Not ready to deal with the software compatibility, Rosetta. I'll wait until more software developers get on board. So I've been using my Mac Mini. It's a 2012 Mac Mini I've used it for all my streaming and my my editing for years, and it's getting a little bit long in the tooth. I've been looking at a couple of possibilities for replacement, either building a machine running Linux or buying an M1 Mac Mini. Now, for the software I use currently, I have no real hesitation on having to use Rosetta for a little while. I've set up a 24-inch iMac M1 for a client of mine, and that thing is fast. I use mostly open source software. LibreOffice ran very well on it. And you know, of course, iMovie is going to run great on it because it's Apple. And beyond that, you know, no, I can't do VirtualBox, but I've got the Proxmox VE servers for that. So that's not a deal breaker. I can also remote into my Linux boxes and run VirtualBox on one of those systems. So I've been considering the M1 Mac Mini, max to 16 gigs, half a terabyte of storage, and then I'll just add some. I'll add a dock. They've got there's a nice looking dock that actually fits under the Mac Mini, that adds a little cubby hole for a SATA SSD, as well as more. So I've been considering that solution. Now, the reason that I've been considering that, whereas I had pretty much made up my mind to build a Linux box, I've got some major sticker shock from the recent graphics card prices. And, you know, if I'm buying a 3070 or something equivalent to go in a Linux box, I'm almost at the price of the Mac Mini. So I've been going back and forth on what to do. I don't really want to, you know, go out and buy all the parts to build a Ryzen system and then have to put a, for lack of better terminology, a craptastic, you know, GT 710 or something, some garbage graphics card like that in it as a temporary solution until graphics card prices come down. So with that, and knowing that by the end of 2022, AMD is going to be updating the Ryzen platform to move to socket AM5, which will be LGA based instead of PGA based. So cutting off the backwards compatibility with the earlier generations of Ryzen. I don't know. I think I'm leaning more and more towards getting another Mac Mini. Now, with that said, if I do go that route, then I'm still absolutely going to build some videos around it. And you know, I will likely still be building a future Linux box at some point in time, but that's probably going to be a 22, 23 type of project at this point. But yeah, I've also looked at the idea of not necessarily buying the M1 Mac Mini brand new, but going to the Apple refurbished store, and saving 10% off the cost doing that. So I'm going through my options and trying to make a plan for what I want to spend, what's the top end of what I want to spend, and just prep to make that happen. But I think I'm leaning more and more towards getting a replacement Mac Mini. And the other reason I have for doing this is that I do still support users that run Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And I do have one user on an M1 Mac already, the 24-inch iMac that I mentioned. And so I want to be able to provide the proper support value to customers as people start switching to the M1 Macs. So that's kind of the mindset where I'm coming from on these things. So I don't know. I'm still kind of, I'm trying to make the decision whether I want to spend that kind of money right now. So let's see. Let's see. David says having the right doodads is critical. Yes. And to anybody that's going to be watching this later, don't think you have to buy all the doodads all at one time. My collection of doodads has been collected over a number of years. Yeah. So from Tony, I started using the vertical cable keystone punch tool. Punches 8 conductors in one shot. Major time saver. You do have to use vertical cable keystone jacks, but well worth it. If I were doing more installs, I mean, there was a hot minute there that I was doing a lot of installs and running a lot of that kind of stuff, and it just kind of dropped off because everybody still has is having a major love affair with Wi-Fi, much to my dismay. But it is what it is. I've seen the vertical cable keystone punch down tools, and I'm pretty sure I've seen your video on that, and it looks like a great tool. If I were doing more installs, pulling more cable and punching down more keystones, I would definitely be looking closely at that. Build a new machine, get a couple of videos out of that. Yeah, I'm still thinking about that. Right now I mean, the machines I've got, other than the Mac Mini, my Linux boxes and my Windows box are all various. Let's see, I've got 3 Dell Optiplexes and I've got a Dell Precision workstation. So 2 of them. Let's see, one of them is. Okay, let me back up. 2 of them are running Ubuntu Linux. One of them is running Proxmox VE, and then one of them is running Windows. So I've been trying to save things from the landfill and using some used equipment for some purposes. And that's an idea. I could build a video around the thought process and value in doing that right now, especially with chips shortages and things of that nature. Let's see. If you don't have any software reservations and just want out-of-box solution, then I'd say go for it. I've seen many great reviews, as have I. That's what has me continuing to look at the solution. Let's see. Speaking of Ryzen processors, would you recommend Ryzen over Intel? I'm assuming you meant. For a gaming computer. David, I sent you a direct message earlier with the same question. So I'm not much of a PC gamer. One of the things that I've contemplated for a use for having a more modern Linux box with a dedicated graphics card is to burn off some frustrations with some Steam gaming. Because none of the Linux boxes I have currently have a recent enough graphics card to do any gaming of any depth. So now with that being said, I do have a toy over here on my desk. If I can get it out of the mess of cables it's in. And probably going to knock a bunch of stuff off the desk. Grab this. I do have a slimline PlayStation 2, and that probably still has, it does still have my Castlevania Symphony of the Night disc in it. So a while back I picked up this guy, which is a composite video, so red, green, and yellow from those classic consoles to HDMI out. So I have started playing around with, and I haven't looked at it again since the new version of OBS came out, but I've played around with recording some of my gameplay of some of the classic, PlayStation 1 and 2 games, and just recording some of that, maybe doing it to a Twitch channel. I'm not sure I want to pollute my tech channel with gameplay stuff. I could do a separate YouTube channel, but I don't know. Anyways, so I've got PlayStation stuff covered there. I've got some other classic consoles. I've got Super Nintendo. I've got a Nintendo GameCube. I've got some even earlier stuff. And I thought, maybe it would be good to get that out, set it up next to the computer, and just whether it's live streaming or whether it's pre-recording it and dumping it out there just for posterity, have a little fun doing it, and maybe get a couple hours a week of gaming in, because it's something I used to do quite a bit, and I haven't been doing much lately the last several years. So of course, with middle age, your reflexes aren't quite what they once were. So the joy of some of those games is not quite there anymore. And I kind of hate to admit that, but yeah. Welcome, USB Tux. I'm not a gamer either, which is why I'm asking the question. Trying to help out a client with his build. And yeah, David has a great answer. A gaming PC is most dependent on the graphics card. I use both Intel and AMD, and I still get minor unexplained quirks with AMD, although the new 5000 series CPUs seem great. Yeah. So the AMD stuff that I do have around is older. I never really saw a lot of quirks with it. But those quirks might be Windows quirks too. So the two AMD machines I've still got that still run that aren't like completely worthless as far as specs. I don't think I ever had Windows installed on those. So yeah. Let's see. I need to bring gaming back into my skill set just to add some interest to my YouTube videos. That's a solid idea. David, learning from your videos, I've suggested either 30, 60, 70, or 80. Ryzen is good for gaming. I was using a 2400G, which was okay. Now using a Ryzen 5 3600. Very nice. Along with NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Super. But the 1650 is okay. Yeah. I'm not sure what the graphics card I've got in the Dell Precision workstation. I think that's a 1060. So that's not even close to being as good. Okay, I just got an answer to a problem I was having with my AMD 3900X CPU from J2 Sense. Nice. I suggest either a 3070 or 80 for high-end gamers. Yeah. The last time I built a gaming system, a buddy of mine that lives down in Illinois, it also runs a financial planning practice. And he wanted a machine that, and this has been about 3 years ago now, he wanted a machine that was going to last him a number of years, that he could use for his gaming and for his financial planning business. And we built, this was a $3,000 give or take system. But when he ordered the parts, I just did the build for him. But he put two 2080s in it in SLI mode, which didn't give him the performance that he thought he was going to get from that and the hoops we had to jump through to get it going. But it is what it is. That's what he wanted. That's what he got. And he's been very happy with it. You know, but yeah. So the David, you bring up some good points here. Problem happened when I first put my 3080 in that PC. It would trip the 850 watt PSU since it was drawing up to 550 watts under load, upwarded to a 1,000 watt PSU. Upgraded to the 5900X a week later and have had no further problems. So yeah, the other reason that I've been considering the Mac Mini is because while the big graphics cards are nice, they suck a lot of power. And I think the Mac Mini under full load draws 25 watts. So, and it is pretty quiet too. So that's one of the other things. So probably in the next month or two, unless Apple goes and announces an M1X processor that there was speculation that was going to come out at WWDC and didn't, I will probably end up with an M1 Mac Mini. I may, for the first time, go to the Apple refurbished store and see about something from there. And let's see. Just for the sake of argument, they have had a run on what few M1 Mac Minis they've had, and the last I looked earlier in the week, they were sold out of the higher end Mac Mini models. Oh, look at that. They've got one in. At least one in. So you can filter by release year. So I will share this just for the sake of having a little fun. So refurbished Mac Mini M1, 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU. This is 16 gigs of RAM, a terabyte solid state. The only thing this doesn't have that I was contemplating getting if I were buying a new one would be the 10 gigabit Ethernet. So yeah, but for let's see, this $10.99 for this one. They've got one for $9.29. I'm just curious. This is 16 gigs, half a terabyte of solid state. So it drops the solid state in half for a savings of $170. Yeah. Like I said, I'm on the fence, but for the price of a decent graphics card, I could have an out-of-box solution, plug in and run. So it's a consideration right now. It's a consideration. Okay. See, the system I will be putting together and trying to sell will have my extra 3700X CPU and a ROG Strix 3060 Ti GPU. Been running those two key parts in the spare system for the last few months without a problem. So it's already burned in. Woo! All right. Let me. Okay, it's almost 12:30. Let me jump back to the graphics on a NUC stink in comparison. Intel can't compete on the graphics front. Okay, so I did want to show real quick. Let me jump back to my Windows box. There we go. Have fun, Tony. And we'll see you soon. Okay, so let's jump back over here on the other screen. Oops. I hate switching between computers and key combination mappings. Okay. The Document Foundation has released LibreOffice 7.2 Beta 1. Being a beta release, this will run in parallel with the production version of 7.1.3 or whatever they're up to now. They are starting their switch over from GTK3 to GTK4 for the build, the graphical system, which again is a cross-platform option for building software. So they've started down that road. There are general improvements. Writer has more mail merge improvements. Of course, they bumped the performance again. You can see the RDF metadata in the style selector. And they've added some other custom metadata field shadings. The calc component has got some new spreadsheet functions. They've bumped the performance again. In general, not a huge difference that people are going to notice. One thing that they may notice, people might notice, is that more work has been going into the filters for import and export of Microsoft Office documents. Yeah, so that will be helpful for a lot of people. It's been so long since I've used Microsoft Office on a regular basis other than in a work environment. It means nothing to me for home use. I still, on my work machine, I have LibreOffice installed because there are still edge cases where a document that shows up in Microsoft Office as being corrupt and unable to be opened will open just fine in LibreOffice. The need for that functionality is getting to be lower all the time, but it's nice to know that it's there and can be used on an as-needed basis. So the other thing, they've added some new localizations for different languages, some new dialogues. They've built in some more scripting stuff, so you can script it with Basic and Python. Nothing showing up under feature removal at this point. Oh, I guess it is. Remove VLC from AV Media. Been experimental since 2015. And they're removing OpenGL based drawing code. So that's another thing there. And they're doing some things with a few API changes and things. So in my minimal testing with this thing this morning, since it's been 2 or 3 days since they released this, I haven't found any big differences between the 7.1 and 7.2 beta. So, you know, with that being said, I did spend a number of years doing software quality assurance testing, and this is one of those projects that I like to, you know, go through my normal workflow with a beta version and just, you know, dust off those skills for a little while. And, you know, sometimes I find things that might be bugs and sometimes I don't. Like I said, I've done minimal testing with this so far, and I have not seen a huge difference in this version. The full version is due out, I believe, in the August timeframe. So, next on the list, let's close this out. So there is a new beta for Linux Mint, the Cinnamon Edition, for 20.2. And this is a long-term support release, supported until 2025. Contains many improvements. And here is the real important stuff. System requirements: 1 gig of RAM, 2 gigs for comfortable usage, 15 gigs of hard disk space, 20 recommended. And yeah, the low resolution of 1024 by 768, which I don't know anybody that's still using that, but I'm sure people are still out there. So basically, if you've got a Core 2 Duo, you can still run this on a Core 2 Duo because it's 64-bit, and you probably have at least a 60 gig hard drive in that type of machine. So, yeah, that's coming. And so those were the big topics for today. So I'm working on some videos, some upcoming videos that hopefully over the next month or two, I'll be dropping more pre-recorded stuff. One of them I want to dig into a little bit is using a combination of Zentyal for Samba Active Directory, doing the user management portion of it mainly, and then using OpenMediaVault for the file storage piece and mapping the users between them. I just want to see how that will work out, or if it will work out. If it does, then I want to potentially do the same thing with Sigma NAS, and then kind of do a comparison of, how easy is it to set up one over the other, and what are the pros and cons of going one way or the other. Other videos, or at least topics I'm considering or working on. I've got some footage recorded for the final segment of my Greenbone Security Manager video. I've had the first 2/3 of it recorded and some edits done for about a month now. And just with other projects that have been continuing to pop up, I have not been able to circle around to it. But I do have some footage recorded now. And so hopefully in the next week or two, I'll have everything edited down and that will be out. I'm also looking at potentially doing a 2 or 3 video series on Home Assistant, which is sort of a home automation hub software that will run on a Raspberry Pi. I've had one running for a while now, and it needs some love and updates. And since Home Assistant released on the 15th of June a new version, which has some interesting features on here, I think it's time to wipe the existing Pi and start fresh and re-add things and, rebuild some of those customizations out. And maybe it will motivate me once I get that all installed to dust off my ESP32 board and revisit the temperature sensor project I had started, but has been sitting in a box for months, maybe a year. So that would be nice to get that done and reporting. Also needing some love and a rebuild is my NEMS Linux box, which also runs on a Raspberry Pi. And I know I need to do an update to the newest version, as well as spending some needed time doing configuration on that to get everything reporting the way it should, and just doing what I'd like it to be doing. And that will likely be another video series, short video series. I'm expecting 2 to 3 videos from any of these series that I'm proposing. But yeah, that's sort of the direction I'm going in now. I'm trying to find something that I can use to replace what normally would have been the time that I would have sunk into doing videos on Fog, because as I mentioned before, Fog is sort of on life support at the moment, and I'm not sure they're going to be releasing more updated versions, or if they do come, they're going to be coming few and far between. But that's kind of my direction at the moment, my thought process at the moment. Let's see. Ryan asked, could you do something around explaining? I'm assuming explaining NEMS Linux and some of these other things that I've mentioned. Was there something specific, Ryan, that you wanted explained? That would be, if I've got somebody making an actual suggestion on a video that I can make, I would absolutely consider making something. Lately, the feedback has got a little bit more generic on a lot of my videos, and people are saying, great video, appreciate it, yada yada yada, which is great, but I'm not getting much in the line of suggestions for other topics to cover. All right. Okay, USB Tux. Is there a way to have a Proxmox Samba file server that is encrypted other than encrypted 7-zip files? That's a good question. And I'm not really sure because I don't run Proxmox as a Samba file server. I run Proxmox for virtualization. If you're talking about running a VM on Proxmox, that's the file server that's encrypted. I'm sure that's possible. I believe there are plugins for OpenMediaVault that do that. But if you're talking running that directly on Proxmox, that's not really a supported configuration option. And I tend not to use things in ways they were not intended necessarily. So my I will say that my Proxmox servers have been just rock solid. Okay, yes, a VM or a container. So yeah, you could do that and have things encrypted. I think there's a plugin for OpenMediaVault. So yes, you can encrypt the disks on an OpenMediaVault server. Let me pull this back up real quick. Using Lux, which is Linux Unified Key Setup. So doing this, everything would be encrypted on the file shares. And the big thing is don't lose your passphrase that you set up for the encryption key, or else all your data is gone. Kind of like BitLocker on Windows. If you lose the key, or if somebody else set it up for you and didn't give you the key, and you find yourself not being able to access it for whatever reason, you're up the proverbial creek without a paddle. But this is not something I've explored, but I'm not opposed to doing this. I've got an OpenMediaVault test system on pretty low end hardware running, but I put it there just because I'm not putting any data on it that I really care about. It is there just for testing. And so maybe I will play with this on that. So, all right, Ryan, my first one did not go through. Raspberry Pi server based on Docker with VPN, Dropbox backup, Influx, Grafana, etc. IoT stack. That is a great idea. Give me a second. I'm just writing this down so I've got a record of it. I will put that on my list to explore. I'm not sure I would do a VPN on a Raspberry Pi, but definitely the other things. I might use something other than Dropbox for backup as well. But that's because I don't know. I've not been real fond of Dropbox, but that's definitely something I can look into, Ryan. Seems like there was. Let me jump to my other window real quick. Seems like there was a project I was looking at. That was something very similar to what you're describing there. And it was sort of an out-of-box solution that did a lot of those things. So yes, you make a good point. USB Tux sync thing is pretty awesome. I've got that on 3 of my systems or 4 of my systems right now, and I've been kind of enjoying that. So let me see. I'm probably not going to be able to put that the name of that right on the tip of my tongue anytime soon. But yeah, Ryan, there is something out there that does most of what you're describing. And I think it does Nextcloud. I think it's got some VPN capabilities. But yeah, it hits a lot of the check boxes for what you're describing. Is it Mistborn? Thinking that might be it. Yes, it is it. Copy. Let's jump back over to the other window. So let me throw this back up. Mistborn. Let me blow this up a little bit larger. Oops, that's not that window. This window. Can I go back to something normal over here? Okay, Mistborn. Virtual private cloud platform and web UI that manages self-hosted services. So let's see. Secure platform for easily standing up and managing your own cloud services, including firewall, ad blocking, multi-factor, WireGuard VPN access. So it doesn't hit the Grafana and Influx things, but this is pretty slick. security information and environment management or event management, remote desktop. So yeah, this is a pretty cool. It does use Docker, so you could use other installers, Docker installers for some like the Grafana and Influx to add to this. And the person that designed it is an offensive security certified professional, OSCP. So this is kind of interesting. So it's got Docker for containerization, WireGuard for secure VPN access, Secure Shell for remote management, and then a bunch of other tools: IP tables, Cockpit, Pi-hole, DNS crypt, Traffic, which is the reverse proxy, Waza, free open source enterprise ready security monitoring solution, Suricata for intrusion prevention and detection. You also get Home Assistant, Nextcloud, Bitwarden password manager, SyncThing, OnlyOffice, Rocket Chat, Jellyfin for media, the Onion router, Jitsi for video conferencing, Guacamole for remote desktop, and Rasp AP for a full-featured wireless router setup. And of course, you don't have to run all of those services on a Raspberry Pi, but you could run a number of these on a Raspberry Pi without too many issues. So it's Willie Howe. Willie, your ears must have been ringing. We were just talking about you earlier, and when I talked about having a net tool. Thank you for stopping by. And thank you for the encouragement. I appreciate that. And as well, keep up the work on your channel. I continue to be inspired by it. And as I've extended to the other people in the chat, happy Father's Day to you. I hope the family is doing something special for you today. So, Ryan, does this sort of fit what you were kind of looking for? If you're still out there, Ryan. This is a project that I've just become aware of in the last couple of weeks, and something I've not yet played with, but I want to play with. So it's definitely something that's coming. So on that note, we've got about 5 minutes left before I'm going to cut things off for the day. We've been going the past few weeks and running right to almost that 2-hour mark. Yeah, does anybody have any final questions, comments, video suggestions? Ryan, since this is going to tick a lot of the boxes that you were talking about, this is something I'll be looking in a little, looking at in a little bit more detail. And maybe getting some videos out on it. So I'm curious to play with it myself. And David asked, any new videos going up soon for the channel? So the one that's probably closest to release is the Greenbone Security Manager video. I've got more footage recorded for the final part of that, and I'm hoping this week, but I'm not going to put an exact date on it. If I can take a break after the live stream and get some more motivation to do it, I may try to get it completed this afternoon and maybe released in the next couple of days. But that's probably the one that's closest to release at this point. So looks like Mistborn will run on a VM or container. Yes, it should. I think they've built it so it will run on a Raspberry Pi. Of course, you're going to have to scale down which services you run on a Raspberry Pi just because of storage constraints and processing power. But you know, if you're selective, you could run it on a Pi. Absolutely would run in a VM. I'm not 100% sure about a container because I'm not sure if you can pass through the proper kernel modules from the host system to the container for running something like WireGuard. That's one area that I'm not 100% sure on. And I would have to dig into that a little deeper. So, but yes, I do a high percentage of my stuff in VMs. And yeah, so, all right. Anybody else have a final question, comment? David, did you want to give details on your live stream? I think you've got coming up tonight, isn't it? Get me there. No, that doesn't get me there. I think you've got a live stream coming up tonight. I thought that's what my yes, you do. So everybody, if you're not feeling burned out from live streaming today, hopefully I didn't do that to you, but absolutely check out David's live stream tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Anybody else in a different time zone, please adjust accordingly or set your reminder on YouTube and check that out. I always try to make those. I don't always comment a lot, but dirty little secret here, I try to multitask and watch your stream while I'm watching Fear the Walking Dead. So I'm kind of a Walking Dead junkie. So yeah, definitely check out David's live stream tonight and see what you can see there. And I think Walking Dead is on hiatus right now anyways. I don't think there's a new episode tonight, so we should be good. I can give you my undivided attention if that's the case. Good morning, Catherine, or good afternoon, Catherine. At least this afternoon here in Eastern time zone. So Yeah. I finished the invoice to the Swiss government. Ooh. All right. Well, on that note, I think we'll close things out. I've got 101, and so we've been going for 2 hours now. Thank you everybody for coming out. I do appreciate it, and the support everybody's been giving me. I'm getting back on track for pre-recorded videos. They're coming soon. If you've got suggestions for video topics that you want to see, like Ryan suggested earlier, let me know. Drop it in the comments either during a live stream or on a video after the fact. I do moderate all of my comments to ward off the riffraff that tends to leave nefarious things in my feed. So I don't have the patience to put up with that. So, and maybe that's because I never had kids. So, I think most people that have kids will attest that children will teach you patience, or at least it does for a lot of people. But your mileage may vary. Let's see. Yeah, and so if you got something out of this today, David always comes through for me on this. Give me a like, and yes, just for the sake of argument, my last name is pronounced just like as you see it in David's comment. Don't blame me on the spelling of it. Blame my German ancestors. They did not consult me. I know that's rude, but they didn't consult me. So yeah, one of the few things I remember from first year German in high school is that in general the second vowel gets the long sound. So that has saved me in a number of situations knowing that. I am angry for they took 3 weeks to print and send the document I needed for my visa. How dare they? All right. Well, nefarious as in up to no good. So, all right. On that note, everybody enjoy the rest of your day, and maybe I'll see some of you in the chat on David's live stream tonight at 8:30. And yeah, happy computing, everybody. Stay out of trouble and stay safe. I'll see you next time.